Welcome to the November 19th, 2024 Angels Camp City Council meeting. Roll call, please, Rose.
Mayor Herndon.
Present.
Vice Mayor Moncada.
Present.
Councilmember Broglio.
Present.
Councilmember Clemente.
Present.
Councilmember Sherrod.
Present.
Staff is present.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 5 is our report out of closed session on items A, B, C, and D. Direction was given to staff on all 4 items. That will take us to item 6, approval of the agenda as posted or amended. Does anybody have any reason to amend the agenda?
I do not think.
Okay. None of us? And any members of the public?
I think there was one, hang on. I think I had an error in one of the minutes. Hang on.
A typo?
A typo.
Okay, just let me know and
I'll
I'll,
let you know what the typo.
Yep.
But this is the agenda. I make a
So-
motion to approve the agenda.
thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion
Second.
and a second.
Clemente.
Aye.
Broglio.
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Herndon.
Aye.
Sherrod.
I,
Thank you.
Item 7 is public comment. The public may address the council on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within this jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda, and speakers will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Do we have any public comment here with us tonight? Seeing none, we have just one person online. Anybody online have to make any public comment tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment. And that will take us to consent agenda, item 8. We have 2 items on consent. Any reason for anyone to pull either of those items?
I'd like to pull A, please.
Okay. We have item A being pulled by Caroline. Anybody else? Okay, any public comment on item B? Seeing no public comment on item B, I'd be looking for a motion for.
So moved.
Second.
Clemente.
Aye.
Broglio.
Aye.
Moncada. Herndon.
Aye.
Sherrod.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item A.
So on item A, it was, it was number 13 in the minutes. Item A, it was actually an item that I had mentioned, and so there was a clarification there. I asked about future meetings, not this particular meeting. Future.
Okay. Any other corrections on item A? Do we have any public comment on item A? Seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion for the approval of the corrected draft.
So moved.
I'll second it. Motion and a second.
Clemente.
Aye.
Broglio.
Aye.
Moncada. Herndon.
Aye.
Sherrod.
Aye.
Thank you.
Takes us to item 9, regular agenda. We'll start off with item A, which is rural recreation and tourism, Utica Park, Lightner Mine expansion project updates. Amy.
Mayor and council members, some updates. The draft landscape plan has been released. We will be having a meeting on December 4th, our last, with the planning committee to go over that. We've also received, today we went over a rough layout for the park course. We actually walked it several times. Rough layout for our lighting. And the basketball court was poured. That's all done. And we still have trees available for $350 for veterans, $500 for non-vets, and still a few benches left for $1,500. And they will be working through the winter whenever weather permits. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Amy?
I do. And actually, Councilmember Moncada might be able to speak on this too. On the bocce courts, I got a phone call about not using the crushed oyster shells and instead carpet, some sort of carpeting. I don't know. But I said I would bring it to you.
And that has been brought to us, and we are doing a cost comparison to see if we can afford to do the, mow lawn instead. And so if we can afford it, great. If we can't, then we'll go with what we can afford and maybe replace it in the future.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
What do you put, Ashi?
Oh, we play on,
There.
shells.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty standard.
Yeah, it had something to do with maintenance.
It is
Long-term
difficult to
maintenance.
maintain the oyster shells. It's easier to maintain the boat lawn, yeah.
Okay, do we have any public comment on Utica Park? Seeing none? We'll move on to item B. Nothing over here? Item B, which is to approve resolution number 24-85, installing speed cushions at Utica Park, and then approving task order number 4 in the amount of $9,000 for Boyer to install the speed bumps. Amy.
Mayor, council members, this was an item that was brought to you by a neighboring landowner during your public comment. We did check into some questions you asked us to follow up on. There is a funding source. The city's gas tax funds would be available to pay for this if you so choose. Your options tonight are to approve the resolution, modify the resolution, or deny the resolution to install them. We did look into the temporary speed cushions. I like the way they call it speed cushions. And unfortunately, they make a bit of a rattling sound, and that close to those residents would drive them nuts, according to our engineer and our public works. So we are recommending that you go with the standard speed cushions. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions if you have any.
So I do have a question. Probably, can we pull up that map, Rose, from the
This one?
park? Well, yeah.
Oh.
So currently, as it stands, without any speed cushion amendment or anything, what is the pavement treatment for all of the gray area that we see? Is it getting some patchwork where the bump out, bulge out thing is it getting patched up, or is it gonna get all one pavement treatment?
So
Taking a look
I'm
at-
assuming patching with the hope that we can do the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
don't know
I'm
yet.
hoping they can redo the whole thing. I don't know what the budget's going to allow. Because they have to do such a significant section in the center where they tore everything out behind the bathrooms, I'm thinking we're gonna have to at least do that whole center section. And also because they, further back where the ADA, they've torn out so
Right.
much that I don't see how they can get around not doing a whole.
Well, and in addition to the treatment, I'm thinking all the new stripes, the new lines for the pavement or the parking spots. So I guess I was kind of trying to envision what that's going to look like and then how the speed bumps would come into play as well. I'm hoping it's gonna be one beautiful finished project without it looking like a quilt.
That is my hope also. I would have to ask to confirm that. I assume that at least in that section, that roadway section, they are going to have to do a uniform.
And in the grown area, the part where it's expanded out.
And the part where it's extended
Yeah,
out,
you
so, there's just too many patches to not redo the whole thing, but I did not confirm that with them. I will have to check with them, and by the way, that first, speed bump would move slightly closer to the other speed bump, there you go. Because we actually moved the ADA over from where it was originally.
So maybe like around.
It's now on that circle is now on the other side of the playground.
And obviously they can't be near a driveway, a resident's driveway.
Our engineer will have to go out in the field with them and mark where they are appropriate to go.
Okay.
And we gave you the 20-foot wide and the 30-foot wide because our engineer didn't know for sure what that width was gonna end up being after they tore everything out.
So I saw on page 24 of this packet, so these are the asphalt concrete speed cushions, not the ones that are just laid over and then sort of screwed in, right?
These are the asphalt, but these are not the screw down.
Thank you.
Those were crazy.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, public comment on this item. Seeing no public comment, and you have options for two widths.
That will be determined based upon the final road width after they've finished pulling everything out, so you don't have to make a determination on that. That will just be a simple engineering determination.
Otherwise, people will drive around them.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, our engineer will determine whether to use the 20 or the 30. We just need to
And the same
know,
price?
we just need to know if you want to have them or not.
Bring it back to us for looking for possible
Make a motion to approve resolution 2485.
second.
Shemente,
Aye.
Brolio,
Aye.
Moncada, Herndon,
Aye.
Sharada.
All right, item C, approve resolution number 2486 authorizing acquisition of formula allocating permanent local housing allocation, PLHA funds, and then approving the PLHA 5-year plan E.
Mayor and council members, you've already seen this one and you already approved the resolution. However, you're supposed to approve the resolution after it's been out for 30 days for public review, which we completed yesterday. So now it's in front of you to pass the resolution again after the 30 days of review. And also we have a little bit more information about the details of it. In this staff report, we've talked about what kind of a committee we might have that would be on the selection committee. That's flexible, of course, but at present, we're talking about having a city council member, planning commissioner, city finance director, city administrator, perhaps somebody from the Calaveras County Continuum of Care, a local builder, rep from the Resource Connection to look at the applications that come in for this and decide who to award them to. Your council will make the ultimate decision, and the criteria is expected to include all of these things. We basically took straight out of the guidelines for the grant as well as our general plan. And it's an outline, but at least it answers a few of those questions that you had asked at your last meeting about this program. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? Wow. Public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, bringing it back for possible resolution 2486, you guys.
I make a motion to approve, and I appreciate your work, Amy, and I think this will benefit our citizens greatly. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second.
Shemente,
Aye.
Brolio,
Aye.
Moncada, Herndon,
Aye.
Sharada.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item D, this is discussion and direction on all hazards planning codes introduction and then overview, including the Heritage Road Program. Amy.
Mayor and council members, we finally completed our much treasured planning committee meetings that everybody fought to participate on throughout the past couple of years. Basically, what we did was I'll go through this when we go through the slideshow, but tonight what I'm actually after is not for you to give me input on the individual little codes changes that we did, but to give you an overview of what the major code changes were with an eye towards December 12th from 3 to 5 p.m., having a public open house to gather some public input. A lot of this is highly technical, except likely for the heritage roads, which would be a new program, and I'll go over how we might want to implement that, and I would appreciate your comments on that. And with that, let's just go ahead and go through the slideshow, and the handout I just gave you is because when I did this for the Planning Commission, the question was, what is 50 cubic yards? We'll tell you why we are answering that question. And the other one was, what are heritage roads? And sometimes it's easier just to show you. So basically, going back to the first slide, we wanted to hit all the major hazards that are faced in the City of Angels. And I think they're well represented here. And basically what we did was in November of 2020, this council approved the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, which is a requirement. It covered those 12 hazards. And on the next slide, it shows you that what you come up with from that plan is a list of what they call mitigations. And mitigation number 6 was to do the update to the fire, flood, grading, drainage, erosion, and post-disaster recovery standards. And so, on the next slide, this grant came up, which surprisingly was to update local planning codes. So we applied for it, and on the next slide, we received it. We then, next slide, hired Interwest, formed a steering committee, which was composed of city council member. I believe we had 3 of you by the time we were done. Planning commission members, I believe we had at least 2 or 3 of them by the time we were done. Fire chief and police chief and the fire marshal, and I have fire chief and fire marshal here because a lot of these changes have to do with fire codes. City engineer, city planner, public works, and the city administrator served on that committee, with the primary topics being fire, flood, grading, drainage, erosion control, emergency response, and heritage roads. And what we did was, in many cases, we consolidated scattered codes. We found fire codes were in 4 to 6 different sections of our code. Now they're in one. And there were a few places where we didn't have any codes, like erosion and drainage control, where we added those. And so I'll go over briefly what all the changes were in the fire codes. On the next one, there is now a new section 8.50, which has all the fire safety regulations, which include all the defensible space, weeds, fuel load reduction, sprinklering houses, posting addresses, gating, fire flow, hydrants, and who is who, and we've actually respelled who the correct way. And we've added a new Title 11 for all road standards that deal with things like how long can a road be? Can it end in a turnaround? Do you have to connect it to another road based on all new regulations with the state in Title 11? And next page. That says it was changed to 1624-065, but no, all those things have in fact been added to Title 11, along with all road standards. And next. We also, for the first time, oddly enough, the fire code actually had for weeds a different method of doing enforcement. Under the new code revisions, everything in the city that is a code violation will be enforced exactly the same way. There's some other minor things. We had things about debris burns and open burning in different sections. Now in one, we removed the section on volunteer fire department because we no longer have it. Next. In the flood section, we had not had an update since 1996. So we basically, next slide, dumped the entire thing and put in a whole new section based on state standard wording. And the thing that was different was we established setbacks along creeks. And that's something we'll be hitting, next slide, in most of the public outreach. We've never had any standards. It's helpful to have standards in your code when you're doing environmental reviews. What this doesn't say is that this applies to new development, not existing development. And the idea is to use the state standard, which goes to the top of the bank. You take the trees that are riparian, such as like a valley oak, go to the drip line. That is usually your setback, but not every model fits every situation. So on the next page, we go into a long list of how you can reduce those setbacks. So we start with going to a drip line of a tree, and we start moving back in. If you can still encompass a floodplain, we reduce it. If there's existing development already there, we reduce it. If it can be safe to do so, we would reduce it. And that's basically the idea behind the creek and stream setbacks. We also ask that you put them perpendicular to the creek when you do a crossing to reduce how much of the creek you disturb. And next slide. The main question we have all the time is how much dirt can we move before we need a grading permit? And our code has never answered that question. So there is now a brand new grading, drainage, and erosion control manual, which will look very familiar to anybody familiar with one from Calaveras County, because we basically copied it. Next section, it will be implemented by the city engineer. And then next section, we have added a section about anticipatory grading. This was something we were asked to do on the committee. Basically, this prevents you from going out, grading up a site, and then coming back to us and saying, oh, I'd like to develop my property. Well, we're telling you in advance, don't go grading it first. Come get a grading permit first. And then all the exemptions for a grading permit, I'll start with those on the next slide. Less than 50 cubic yards. If you're less than 50 cubic yards, you do not need a grading permit. And that's where that handout I gave you comes in. One of those trucks is 50 cubic yards. There are, in the manual, it's broken into other divisions. 1,000 cubic yards and more, you get into a very detailed application process and review. As you work closer to that 50, it becomes less and less, fewer requirements that you have to tell us about, fewer studies you need to do. Geotechnical soil investigations are exempt. Next slide. Fire breaks, driveways, roadways, trenching for utilities, quarrying, cemetery excavations, planting row or field crops, emergency work. Next slide and next slide. Those are all exempt. The main times you're going to need a grading permit under the regulations is when you get up, generally 1,000 and above, you're gonna need the grading permit. 50 and above, you're gonna need a grading permit. But you're gonna need a detailed grading plan when you get especially above 1,000 cubic yards.
Wow.
And if you get within a creek. If you start messing within a waterway, you're likely going to trigger a grading permit. There are exceptions in the next section also for health and safety. If you're gonna undermine one of our roadways, we're gonna have you get a grading permit. If it might make flood conditions worse, we're gonna ask you to get a grading permit. And next after this one, yep. And same with erosion control. We've never had any requirements for erosion control or drainage. And so again, this is all addressed under the auspices of the grading permit. We've also incorporated erosion control, best management practices, and drainage best management practices. And next. We've replaced the 1958 Civil Defense Emergency Response Code currently in our code. So instead of ducking and covering, we now have requirements on the next slide to do emergency management and response, and what we like to refer to as our post-Butte fire provisions, post-disaster recovery. Those of you at Calaveras County know how hard it was to get building permits and stuff after the fire had destroyed many structures. So now on the next slide, the powers are going to be in the new codes established for the Director of Disaster and Emergencies in our handbook. They can suspend the normal application of codes during emergency situations to facilitate being able to get building permits, et cetera, so that we can go ahead and replace dwellings as quickly as possible after a disaster. And then we get to heritage roads. Many years ago, within the last 10 years, the planning commissioners and some other representatives of the planning staff, they walked every single road in the city with a wheel. They measured the length and the width and discovered that they put together a list of all of those roads where the length does not meet the standard 24 feet wide. And of course, they discovered that some of them, in fact, had not wide. and for two-way traffic with parking on both sides, which, as I'm sure our fire department will tell you, does not work well during a fire when people are trying to escape. So there's long been a general plan program to try to address that. So here's our proposal for addressing that. On the next slide, we would basically take the maps that were prepared by the planning commission. We would take road by road, we're gonna prioritize them, and meet with all the landowners on that road with a menu of options after we've driven it with the fire department as to what could be done to help improve the road. Maybe it's going to be something like you don't park on one side. Maybe in some places you don't park on both sides. Maybe there are some options to be putting in some turnouts here or there. Maybe there may be some land that comes up for sale at some time in the future where some off-street parking would occur. But in all cases, on the next slide, the goal is always going to be trying to get as close as we can to 24 feet of clear roadway, knowing perfectly well we will never necessarily be able to achieve that, but at least pursuing that. And then in the next couple slides, we talk about what I just talked about, some of the options we might have, and getting up to the next slide where we talk about the code amendments. Some of the actual code amendments we might look at would be when somebody comes in and they want to split their parcels and they're on a heritage road, maybe they're going to be required to prove that they can get 2 off-street parking spaces before that approval would go forward. In other words, maybe you get 2 parcels instead of 4 if it's necessary to get cars off the site and onto your property. And then going back down to next slide. We have also changed, the last 2 changes to the codes that we've undertaken are to take the sign code, which has for some mysterious reason always been in the building code, and put it in the planning code. And we had a bunch of 1970 garbage collection rates that will also be deleting just because they were there. And so basically, we're looking for some input on the heritage road approach. Any suggestions for outreach that you might have? And unless you object, releasing this to the public starting tomorrow for at least a 30-day review, which would go through to the new year. And then we will start bringing code changes to the planning commission and city council for adoption. We'll be happy to answer questions.
I have a couple. With a stream bed, once the permit is issued, if the stream bed moves, then, you know, sometimes they'll not be in that same footprint. Then at that point, that landowner would get an exemption, correct? Because it wasn't, they built it when it was here, now it's here.
So the thing that would trigger it is a new development application. So if it moves after you've done that development
Right.
and we set the mitigation, if it moves, then it's gonna move.
But if they wanted to add it onto the house, I mean, they'd have to go the opposite direction of where,
We would want them
Property
to
would
go
be-
to the opposite direction regardless,
Okay.
because it's usually gonna be a flood zone.
okay. Heritage roads, have you identified, I know you've identified all of the roads, but have you kind of prioritized which roads are gonna be the most problematic as we make this adjustment?
Not yet, but what we're looking at and to prioritize them is count the number of dwelling units on them, and the ones with the most dwelling units may perhaps be the highest priority. The narrowest ones with the highest number of dwelling units would be the highest priority, whereas the ones with the fewest dwelling units would potentially be the lowest, as well as working with the fire department to see. I mean, we can come up with some right now. Bush Street has been very problematic during fires we've already had, and there's a lot of people, and we need to do something quickly. So basically experience and some established criteria like number of houses, length, risk.
You know, one of my concerns is driving around, I'm not sure if some of these homes have off-street parking. You know, it feels like they're just parking on the edge of the road and then walking down to their house or whatever. I mean,
So
Some
they're
of the
not
problems are,
choosing to use their on-site parking and they're choosing to do street parking and then they kind of use outdoor.
yeah.
and some
You see
never
that
have,
a lot.
and some never have off-street parking.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And some may never have off-street
Right.
parking. And so those are some things, we can't solve all the problems.
Right.
We think we can make it better. We don't think we can make it perfect. But we have to do something to try and improve it. And there have been some instances where perhaps there are some turnouts or some off-street parking that isn't right at your house, but it's just slightly up the street. I know it's impossible to get people to
right,
walk from there,
Right.
but if it improves their safety response, hopefully they are willing to do that.
So do you envision as we go down this road that some of the roads will become one way?
Yes,
And that
And no
would,
parking signs will
yes,
be likely.
those are all options. One way, turnouts, no parking, one side or both sides, depending on the width.
And then there's some streets that have no through, like, so like Birds Way has no through, and parking is really terrible down there, and so that's, I don't even know how you would go about it. But it is a hazard. But you guys know what's more of a hazard than, I'm like, the priority of what the hazardous streets are for you to navigate.
right,
And, driving around with a fire truck on those roads,
Right.
it'll become really apparent really quickly. I know you've driven most of them in a fire truck. Yeah, we're probably not gonna make the bottom of Sonora two-way. We're not gonna happen.
I saw Bruner Hill on here. Are they in the city?
Yes,
Is it the lower part of Bruner Hill? It's not all the way to the
One
top,
side.
right? It's
It's
one
not
side.
all the way to
Oh,
the
it's
top.
one side.
but it is, we have 4 or 6 parcels up right now.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, on this heritage study and the mitigation, where's this? I know we had $20,000 grant there. I saw pop up, but that was just for this document. What my question is? There's a lot of hours. There's notices. There's compliance. There's studies. There's a hell of a lot of heartburn to come with this. There's a lot. Where is all this money coming from to do this for signs, outreach, all of that type of stuff?
So we have not established a budget,
Okay.
and it's something that will have to come to you in the next round of budgets to see if that's something you want to put money towards. My suspicion is that the first round of outreach will really focus us on what this is gonna end up costing for signs, et cetera. And a lot of it, we can do with work that's already been done, desktop, before we even go out. And I think that stage we can do without much of a budget.
Do you think that there's some streets that we won't have to do anything for?
It's possible.
Okay.
I mean, Bruner, however you say that, how much traffic is there on there? Are there only 4 houses that we're looking at? If that's gonna be road number 64 out of 64, well then, probably not.
But you're not talking any like traffic studies and ADT
No.
and things like that. You're
No.
not, you're,
We're talking pretty basic stuff,
okay.
pretty common sense stuff, no additional traffic studies. This has all been sweat of the brow kind of
Okay.
studies that have been done.
Yeah, I agree with Alvin. I'm a little concerned about the, like the implementation process and with the stream setbacks and the grading permits and things like that, there would need to be significant outreach. I would want to make sure, because a lot of people aren't accustomed to needing to pull grading permits and then there's going to be issues.
but doesn't that happen when you pull a building permit?
So sometimes people move dirt without pulling permits because they didn't know that we've never had grading permits.
And it's just moving off site, right? It was
Right.
moving 50.
No, even on your property. If you're moving
I thought it
over,
said move 50 yards off site or something.
Oh.
Well,
but it did say, maintenance, that you could use it
Yeah, maintenance is exempt.
as an exemption, even if it's over 50 yards? Or I guess I needed clarification on that.
I would have to reread that section of the manual. It actually is clear in the manual. I did a summary, so I'll have to actually double check the manual.
So, and I'm all for the hazards and planning and codes and I think it's all great and wonderful. It's just, and I'm all for new construction. This is what we're going, this is how we're doing. I just think, and the road and the heritage road thing, this isn't the first time it's come up and it's a biggie. Like when there was the fire in Finnegan and trying to get down and around, I understand it all. There's just, that's a huge lift. It's in my opinion, on making people comply and figuring it all out. So, but that's all. And,
But you know, but
and we have to start somewhere.
But I wonder too,
Education and outreach.
I wonder, and it's gonna be a heavy lift, but I wonder, it's like when you're dealing with ADA compliance and upgrades, you know, if you develop a plan and work towards that plan, this could be a 10-year plan or a 15-year plan.
Yeah.
You know, or we could, then maybe it'll be grant money, but we could then demonstrate everything that we've done. We have a plan in place to move forward and maybe receive funding. I mean, and I think what I appreciate the most, having sat on this committee, is listening to the experts talk about what we need. And also, as I understand it, Amy, this will be more user-friendly when someone pulls a permit and they're gonna build a house, then we can give them sections of this to review so that they can stay compliant. Wasn't that part of the intent also?
Many of these things are required under the building code. Like a lot of the grading provisions
Right.
are already required, but nobody knows that because they're not written down in any of our local codes.
Right.
And so one of the things we wanted to do was spell it out. Same with fire flows, they weren't spelled out. Same with road widths, they're required by state law, but they're not spelled out anywhere. And we don't want this to become a surprise to somebody who's coming in with a development. We want to be upfront with them and say, these are gonna be the requirements. And you don't have to guess what they're going to be.
Okay, I know we don't have a lot of public here, but I'd like to open public comment for this item in case anyone has anything to say on this. Seeing no public comment, we'll close public comment. So Amy, you're looking for direction on this, with regard to your timeline or?
So if you're okay with releasing this to the public, we'll go ahead and do that until after January and start getting some public input on this. And then either if we're not getting a lot of hand wringing, we'll then start taking it to the planning commission, perhaps in sections.
Sections, okay.
And then bringing it to you for final approvals.
And when you say you're bringing in sections, would it be the Heritage Roads first, or are you gonna take?
No,
grading or-
heritage roads are probably,
So I was gonna say,
yeah.
so
The
your
other stuff
priority,
that's pretty straightforward,
the
we're gonna
easiest.
probably do first, like flood, there's not a lot we can do, it's sort of black and white. And it's just something you need to have.
okay, anybody have any other direction to give? All right, good, I think this is a long time coming, Amy, so thank you for this. All right, we'll move on to item E. This is to approve the draft Prop 218 notice. Michelle?
So we're just bringing back, we had this at the last meeting, we're, bringing up the notice. It needs to be mailed by December 21st to meet our 45 days for the date we set at the last meeting, for the public hearing in February. And so, this is just for your review, and then we'll give our consultant the go ahead, to send out the letters.
Okay, I don't know if you all happen to see that this also made the newspaper. The Calaveras Enterprise did a little article making it sound like it was last week that we talked about this. I don't think it was last week, but. So I think the word's out there. Anybody have any comment or direction about the notice? Oh, no.
So just a couple of, edits that need to be addressed. One was that with, Utica Water and Power Authority, they base the rate that we're paying, our portion off of by a 2.5 water year, not a 3 water year. And that, you put here for the JPA, it's the Joint Power Authority. And so there's just a couple of other little grammatical things, but those are the two biggies that I caught in the letter, just on what, where does our water come from?
Sorry, can you repeat the second one again, the 2.5 and?
The JPA, and what the JPA stands for is Joint Powers Authority, not Joint Powers Agreement.
Oh,
And then there's a couple other edits if you want, I can send that to you.
That'd be great,
Okay.
and then I'll give the feedback back to Bartle Wells, and then they'll revise this letter.
Um,
And I'll confirm the water here.
I spoke with Joel this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on his way actually, but I don't.
Thank you.
But very, very well done.
Yeah.
Very well researched. It was, yeah,
Yeah, and there's been a lot of,
Yeah.
thought in the times we've had it here, so there's been a lot of good discussion around it.
yeah,
I'm excited for the rest of the outreach and everything else.
yeah. And just putting, I think there was just a little bit of misinformation that was out by the enterprise we'll have to correct.
Yeah.
I
So I
just,
think it's good, because it made people all of
yeah,
a sudden.
wake up about it. Yeah,
So,
we'll
yeah.
wake up about it.
It's for a special meeting in January.
Yes, yeah, we'll make sure that they all get invited.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
so
I
we
need a
need to
motion.
actually,
I'll make a motion to approve, oh, never mind.
but we have
Public
corrections coming. Yeah, public comment real quick. And we have Joel with us. I don't know if he wants to chime in. Joel, do you have any public comment on this item?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, yes.
I just wanted to express the appreciation from everyone at Utica, for those who wrote the 218 information about UWP. I thought it was just really well done. It was detailed. It told the story of the whole ownership, and I'm just really impressed with how staff put that together. And we are ready to help in any way we can to educate the folks about any other questions they have in the coming months.
So that being said, I'd love for him to be a working from the community or at least a representative.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Joel. Any other public comment? Seeing none.
So can I approve this with just grammar?
Well, I'm
with
wondering,
grammatical
yeah,
errors?
Those were
Yeah.
the two big ones. The other ones were just, change it to was, the, this, and there's a couple other just things, hydropower is
will.
one word instead of two words. I don't know how.
Can we
is that-
approve just on,
Just approve it
with some grammar?
substantively subject to typographical errors.
Okay. So can I make a motion to approve draft proposition for 218
The grammar.
grammatical errors?
Will be corrected.
And will be correct.
And I'll second.
Shemente.
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Moncada. Herndon.
Aye.
Shrub.
Hi.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to item F. This is to approve resolution 24-79, which is our revised fee schedule for the fiscal year 24-25.
Yes. So, you had previously in October approved part of this, that was the administrative and the department fees, but we wanted to go back and look at the fees that were being increased by the CCCI, the California Construction Code Index. So, that was at 9.4. So this revision here, Amy went back, looked back at the mitigation studies, and we discovered that only the mitigation fees needed to be increased by the 9.4. And that the rest could increase by 3.2, which is the consumer price index rate. So this provision here increases those rates for everything except for the mitigation fees.
Traffic mitigation,
All of the mitigation.
all the mitigation.
Oh.
Okay.
Correct.
And the only way to change those is to do a set.
Correct. That's correct. And in the past, the CCCI fees, typically that increase has been lower than the CPI, but it just happened to. Yeah, sort of after COVID, that just kept going up. And so unfortunately, I know we've done some blended rates in the past where we looked at a 3-year average, but we've now moved into the 3-year average no longer helps the situation. It's better to use the actual rate.
What I found helpful last time we talked about this is, Amy, you did a comparison of what a building permit would cost. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you believe if we adopt these, that what you presented to us will be not, I want to say substantially less, but will they be less than what you presented? What do you think?
The impact mitigation fees are going to be about the same.
About the same.
You still need to look more closely at that traffic impact mitigation
Right.
fee. It is still out of line with other jurisdictions.
Okay. But the
Same
only
with
way we
schools,
could,
but we can't do anything.
the schools we can't do anything about. But the only way we could look at the traffic mitigation is that to undertake another study, which could cost $25,000.
Which you can take out of the traffic impact mitigation fee monies that we have,
Right.
because that study included some portion of the fee paid for updating the study. So it is probably time to do that.
And those traffic mitigation fees can only be used for a specific purpose, correct?
Capital improvements that are named in the traffic study,
For,
and we have a really big list
we have a really big list.
that we could make short.
Is that the same list that's in our strategic plan?
I don't,
That handbook of,
I don't know if that.
I mean, they showed all the traffic lights and the connector
Then
roads.
yes. It
So
could be-
those dollars could be used for those projects?
So traffic impact mitigation fee dollars are based on that list over time, based on what we anticipated the population growth was gonna be, divided by the cost of all of those projects
Right.
over a certain period of time. And if you cut down that list, the overall fee goes down.
If you cut down the list of projects.
Right. But one, on that list, on the budget page, it shows that, and I talked to Michelle regarding this, it shows that we should be allocating $68,000 a year for road maintenance,
That
or road
is
repairs, but that's
In the
different.
traffic impact mitigation fee, you cannot pay for road maintenance.
So that's okay,
This is only capital improvement.
okay. Because it shows that list of traffic lights and connector roads and all of that,
Those are.
and those are
capital.
traffic mitigation,
That's
but
traffic.
maintenance is not.
Yeah, traffic impact mitigation fees are always new development to pay for traffic improvements that we
Okay.
need over,
Okay.
never for maintenance.
The bad part is it could go up with the study too, correct?
Yes, if you revise the costs, it will go up, but then if you reduce the list,
The projects itself,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So individual
it's like-
project costs, yeah, they're gonna go up.
it's like we do with the water.
It's like the water.
And kick out the
It's like
projects that we-
water.
Kick out the projects that we do.
Right.
We have thunder.
So we could do a traffic mitigation between now and the next time we need to raise the rates and have that in
Yes.
place.
Michelle, you said there's like $1 million,
Yeah, we should.
and then we could reduce that list and prioritize. And those dollars, yeah, $1 million isn't gonna do a lot, but I worry a little bit about not having the connector roads so folks can get out and fire. You know, the Stealthy Park, you know, what's it, Suzanne Way? I mean, I understand it would take a whole bunch to get that road there, or the one up, Greenhorn, coming out of Greenhorn by,
Down Finnegan,
yeah, you know, I
on
mean,
the
it's,
backside of that.
I mean, it would be good if we could demonstrate that we're gonna do this study and we're gonna prioritize projects and start to look at putting those projects into fruition.
I have one more question for you. When we did the side-by-side comparison, there was like Amador, Calaveras, us, there was Sonora. You said Calaveras, county had not updated theirs in quite some time, all their fee structure there, right?
I do not recall specifically, but no,
Or
I
what-
believe
I
they have
thought it was
updated.
a school mitigation fees that,
No, not the school.
There was the traffic impact.
I was just wondering if Calaveras County was gonna update
You
any
said
of
one of
their
them
fee
was stale
structure.
information, is that what
Yeah,
it
well,
Or maybe
Calaveras-
Calaveras, was it Tuolumne, one of them? Just wondering-
Snohomish County has not updated theirs for a while.
Okay,
Sonora has not updated theirs, well, they use Tuolumne counties.
right.
But they've not even raised it to the same as Tuolumne counties. So there's a lot of people where they're very stale.
Okay. I was just wondering if somebody else was already doing this, we could
oh,
piggyback
piggyback.
or steal some of the information.
Well,
Or whatever.
our problem is our roads are unique to us.
Right,
And the cost
right.
of each one, yeah.
I was talking about the whole cost
Oh,
of because we looked at that whole cost.
Mhm.
So that's all. Yeah, the road mitigation is it is what it is, but there was the whole cost we talked about we felt was a little high, and if somebody else was doing. Not there?
Yeah.
We're all good?
Nowhere.
Okay, public comment. Did we already do public comment on this one? I don't think so. Public comment on this item. Seeing none, we'll bring it back for consideration of approval of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Shemente.
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Montada. Aye. Hernan.
Aye.
Schrock.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item G, this is approval of resolution 24-87, awarding a bid from Pavement Coatings Company in the amount of $180,509.60 for crack sealing, microsurfacing, and speed tables, and appropriating $25,000 from Fund 205 to 205-7010-51076. Steve Williams.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Before you tonight is a request to approve an award for a bid and appropriating some money to pay for it. In June of 2018, the city council approved some funding specifically on the street and in the neighborhood of Gardner Way in the amount of just under $160,000. That money specifically was for crack sealing and microsurfacing. As you know, Gardner Way is a residential roadway, and it's often used as a pass-through to get to and from the high school rather than going on the arterial roadways. And there was some discussion about some type of measures for traffic calming. And one of the discussion points were speed tables. So staff looked into speed tables and found that it is possible to install speed tables on that road, but it would need to be done in conjunction with the other road work that is going on. It would best be done in conjunction with the other road work that is going on in that area. And that area was then expanded to include not only Gardner Way, but Holly Street, Casey Street, Easy Street, Kirby Way, and Easy Circle. Staff has already used their own staff time and their own staff equipment to start this project. They started and actually have completed the first phase. The first phase, it consists of crack sealing. We purchased a crack sealing piece of equipment some time ago, and we finally got to use it. We used it in this neighborhood, and it went very well. So I want to thank Chris O'Flynn and his staff for getting that first phase done. The second phase of the project would consist of installing speed tables on Gardner Way. The third phase would consist of chip sealing, and the fourth phase would consist of lane restriping. Because of the cost to complete the project, we put the project out to bid. We only received one bid. We actually first we solicited an estimate instead of a bid. We just contacted a local contractor, and the initial estimate was somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 to complete all this work. We then put it out for a formal bid, and we received one bid in the amount of $180,000. So this $180,000 would allow us to complete the second phase, the third phase, and the fourth phase, since we've already completed the first phase in-house. The difference between the $180,000 bid and the $160,000 budget is about $30,000. So we recommend that the bid be awarded to Pavement Coatings Company out of Sacramento. We found them to be a responsible bidder. They have good references. We're confident in their ability to complete the work. And we are requesting to appropriate an additional $25,000 to the project so that we can complete it all at once. With this company, Pavement Coatings Company, it may be possible, depending on weather, to actually start the second phase, which is installing the speed tables, by the beginning of December. And it's possible to complete the entire project by about January or February, again, depending on weather. There is an option to wait until the weather passes us and we start phase 2, 3, and 4 in the spring after the weather clears up. But I just wanted you to know that this company is willing to start the project almost immediately.
So, you would think, according to their timeline, they're gonna chip seal and then put speed bumps. Aren't they gonna chip seal it first and then they're gonna chip seal around the speed bumps?
Yes.
Okay,
They're going to, so the first stage was to seal the cracks, all those
Right,
individual
right.
cracks in the road. The next phase is to install the speed tables.
okay.
And then the third phase is to chip seal up to the speed tables
Okay, so
and then restripe the lanes. with the top.
I know, and Jen, help me with this. I know that the asphalt has to be a certain temperature when you lay asphalt. Is that the same when you chip seal? Is that there's a,
It's an emotion.
it's so that the temperature of the current roadway doesn't have to be a certain
I
degree?
mean, yeah, but it's not as much as H&A, so you could probably chip. They could probably chip this one.
Especially on a sunny day or something.
Okay,
Dry and sort of, the emulsion adheres it. It's a activation.
Okay,
I don't know
okay.
the science, but
okay.
So I guess my quick question is, we've completed stage 1, which is the crack sealing treatment.
Yes.
But then there's crack sealing included in this bid?
Chip sealing, put it in the bid.
It says crack sealing, microsurfacing.
The bid itself?
It could be a typo. It says
Probably a type.
for crack sealing, microsurfacing, and speed tables. So that needs to say chip sealing.
Chip sealing,
Okay.
yes, yes.
I was confused. And then there's still a little bit more crack sealing yet to be done. I don't think Gardner's gotten crack sealing, just the
There's
side
one
streets.
portion of Gardner that still needs to be
Okay.
done, yes.
So we'll do that before pavement coatings gets in there.
We will, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And I think those were my questions.
I don't think I mentioned the extra, 25,000 that we're asking to appropriate for this use is coming from gas tax. And, when we last checked, gas tax had an available balance of 231,000. So there's funding available in that fund to commit to this purpose.
So quick, like, we're gonna open public comment on this and see if anybody has anything to say from public. Seeing none, we'll bring it back for a vote. And once again, I'm going to be recusing myself from this because I live on one of these streets. So I think it's appropriate for me to not vote. So I'll let you guys abstain. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll say.
Mente,
Aye.
Brolio,
Aye.
Moncada, Herndon,
Abstain.
Sharada.
Aye.
And it's with the correction, right? Instead of
With the
the
chip seal.
It says chip seal.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to H. This is clarifying and approving the city officials handbook. Steve, what?
Okay, thank you again, Mayor. Before you tonight is a request to get some direction on, I think it's 6 different items. So, the city handbook, the city officials handbook is a document that guides the city council, the planning commission, and all commissions that are appointed by the city council. It also provides some guidance for staff on expectations and roles and responsibilities. And it was very much in need of an update. And it was last updated in January of 2021. The city attorney's office did the lion's share of updating the document to make sure that it includes all of the things that may have been legal back then, but now it's fully compliant with all of the laws and regulations that it references. We first brought the draft to you on October 10th. We brought it back to you on October 15th. We forwarded comments that we have received from council and from staff to the city attorney's office. And so what you see before you is the revised draft version of the council handbook and 6 different issues that I will ask you to take a position on so that we can finalize the book and bring it back to you for a final vote at the next meeting. So unless you have any questions, I'll just go over each one of the things that I will ask for direction on individually. Okay? The first of the six is in chapter 2 and it's section B. So this was a new section that was added to the book by the city attorney's office after some discussion from the city council saying that they wanted some type of language to clarify the difference between the mayor and the other council members. So that's the purpose of this section being added. The section indicates that the mayor assumes a significant role in policy, direction, and priorities. So it is chapter 2, section B1, and the question was raised by one of the council members, is this necessary? And it's not necessary, so I confirmed with the city attorney's office that this is completely at your discretion. We can have this language in here, we can not have this language in here, we can modify the language, but it is new language being proposed to be added to the book.
This language was from the legal.
It was, yeah.
So how would that work in the real world? An example. So,
An example would be that the mayor, appointed by the council, would take more of a role in guiding, advising, conversing with the city administrator in the implementation of the policies that you create. So you create the policies, I implement policy, but the way I implement policy may be influenced by or recommendations made by the mayor.
with guidance from the city council or on their own, they would have, if we invest this power in the mayor then could give direction to the city administrator without consulting with the council?
Yeah, I don't know if it goes as far as giving direction. Let me read the section again.
Do you know what page?
It says policy.
Page
around
160.
160, I'm on 160, okay. Close.
Come on.
Is it standard sometimes for the mayor to not vote and only vote on issues when it's a tiebreaker? Or OM?
It's in
Or is that
there.
an elected mayor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you see it, Mike?
I do, but it says in this, the mayor working in the city.
As presiding
So sometimes
officer,
on
council
boards or
mayor
councils,
is
the
to
mayor or the
faithfully
chairperson won't vote.
communicate the will of the council.
Everybody
Yes.
else will vote, and the only time that they have to cast their vote is in the event that they need to be a third vote, a tiebreaker.
Yes. I would say that's not what you have here.
No, we don't have that here, but is that something that cities of our size consider?
I'm trying to think of one your size that does that.
Okay, so it's more boards and things that do that.
Mhm.
All right.
So, I mean, that paragraph does say that, Joe. Thank you, Rose. The mayor does not possess any power or veto as presiding officer of the council. The mayor is to faithfully communicate the will of the council majority in matters of policy.
So that is the same.
Mayor, right?
Yeah, the
Right.
second paragraph and the third paragraph are the proposed
Are the
additions.
proposed
The
additions.
leadership role part.
Yes.
Have we had an instance where our mayor has had, assumes a significant role in establishing the city's policy direction and priorities?
I think during COVID, I would say that Alvin was more.
Yes, that was
Was
all,
that an emergency though?
that was an emergency, it was all,
Yeah,
that was at the direction of
The public health.
council, that was the direction of county, there was
There was some procedure to follow.
a hell of a lot of procedure in that, that was,
I mean, I
Crazy
do
time.
think,
uh,
I don't feel like.
I was vice mayor at the time, I was not mayor, but there was a time that when we had, no interim for a while, and I think I was, for whatever reason, I was thrown into more of a role, day-to-day stuff. Banking, and we had a lot of cleanups too.
The interim
4 years ago.
when we
The
lost the
first
city
time.
administrator?
Yeah.
First time, yeah.
so.
Anyways, I don't have an opinion on it.
My opinion is scratch it. I mean, none of us are elected as the mayor. It's us. If it was an elected mayor spot, then I would say you could throw in the policy, direction, and priorities. But it's not elected. We as the five of us pick it.
I feel
And
like.
it isn't a maybe an elevated position, because you do need to know about some lawsuits and different things that happens, but I don't get the roles and policy, direction, and priorities.
It almost seems like you could leave everything in except for the second, or excuse me, the last sentence. It says the mayor is expected to exercise a leadership role with the other members of the city council, period. In the next sentence, to the extent that time permits, the mayor generally works more closely with the city administrator than other council members, being mindful that all information is shared equally with other council members. And the last sentence is, I think, what gets a little iffy. In this regard, the mayor.
I agree.
So I
I
would
agree.
think you could leave
Scratch that
everything
last
except for that.
And I agree that those first are exactly what
Should be
Kind
done.
of
be
what
done.
it should be.
Yes,
yeah.
that's exactly what yeah.
All right, so Karen, keep all three paragraphs, but scratch the last sentence of paragraph 2.
Yep.
Okay,
I have a clarification question on section 3, where it talks about term.
section
Okay,
3.
do you want
Of
me-
that
Same
same.
page.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry.
it says the mayor and vice mayor are selected by a majority vote of the council and appointed on an annual basis for a 1-year term. And then this is where I'm a little confused. Selection of the mayor and vice mayor occurs in December or January to coincide with the general municipal election that occurs every 2 years. Isn't that kind of contradicting itself?
Mhm.
Because that
It doesn't
election does,
coincide.
but if we're gonna
It
do
does
one
cycle
year.
every
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
Just say
Will
like,
it be annually?
just say every annual election cycle. Right?
But
But we
it's
don't
not-
have an
We don't
election
have
it.
every year.
2 years.
I think you could just.
So it
No, I
doesn't
think
mention.
So just
So you could do the
election.
selection of the mayor and the
Yeah.
vice mayor occurs in December or January to coincide with the first meeting of the year or something like that,
Yeah.
as opposed to.
Yeah, that's fine.
To coincide with all other, appointments at that time. We're doing all of the
Right.
boards and
Well,
things.
reorganization, do you call that a reorganization meeting, Rose? Do we have a
No,
reorganization?
it's just always
I think
It's
agenda.
just- Is it just, so is it always the first meeting in January?
So you could just
And we
do
use
your
it.
own coincide with the
And
first.
First
meeting.
meeting in January?
But it could be in December if we had our ducks in a row and wanted to get it over with. If there wasn't an election.
True, I just think that needs to be reworked because
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
contradicting the sentence before it.
Yes.
I think it should stay with December or January, because if it was a non-election year,
I go change, because what if it falls on a Christmas? I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, and then we skip that second meeting.
Because we skip that second meeting sometimes, I would just go that,
The January.
it's always gonna be January.
It's clean.
Yeah.
I would just say January.
First
Just, it
meeting
keeps
of
it clean.
January.
First meeting in January.
Sorry, Steve, did you follow all that?
He's scratching it. So it can be selection of the mayor and vice mayor occurs in January,
First meeting in January.
Yeah, first
First
meeting.
the first meeting in January.
I concur.
In January to coincide with the January.
No, I don't. I
No.
think it's just
That
that.
would be period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period.
The other question I had, since you pointed it out, is the mayor, appointed for a 1 year?
Mhm.
We're changing
We're
that to 1
changing
year.
that to 1 year.
It's been 2
Okay,
years.
so
It was
changing-
1 year,
okay,
it went
gotcha.
2, now it's going back to 1.
All right, very good. Thank you.
What page next?
All right.
Sorry.
Item number 2 of 6, chapter 3, section B. Chapter 3, section B.
162.
And that page is
162.
162?
162 of the PDF,
Thank you.
160.
which I guess is the same.
There's like 2 pages past where we.
And-
Yeah.
The request for information and inappropriate action, that one?
Inappropriate actions. So, the-
Inappropriate practice.
yeah, the question is, who, if a council member says or does something that's inappropriate and it's deemed necessary that somebody needs to talk to that council member, I think the way it's written in here is the city administrator. It says city administrator or city attorney
Mhm.
will discuss with the council member the action and suggest a more appropriate process or procedure to follow. The question that was posed to me was, do you want the city administrator to do that? Do you want the city attorney to do that? Do you want the decision to be based on who the council member is and what the issue is? Because right now it says both, city administrator or the city attorney. So the question was, do we want to narrow it down to just the city administrator or the city attorney? Or do we want to leave it like that?
I brought this up. I don't think it should be either. I think, you know, it should be the mayor at that point, you know, I mean, peer to peer.
Well, what if it's the mayor doing? it? What if it's?
Well, then if it's the mayor doing it, then it would be the vice mayor. I mean, I worry a little bit. I
Right
worry,
now, it's worded that it is just city administrator. Your red lines are recommending to add attorney, right?
I-
And you're saying scratch both of
I
them.
don't think it should be anybody that if somebody, I don't wanna create the animosity. I mean, if I were doing something wrong, you know, and I was of that mindset and the city attorney or city administrator said something to me, I might get a burr in my saddle. I mean, come
But
on.
at what level are we talking about? If you're
Right.
sexually harassing somebody in the
Well-
office, are you gonna talk about it, or are we gonna have somebody
Well,
from Lee
okay,
talk about it?
my sense is, okay, so we have to define what we're talking about.
Yeah,
If it's.
inappropriate.
For me, inappropriate actions,
It's
it's like a
crossing the
sexual
line,
harassment.
Yeah.
It's not letting.
It's not how we're interacting amongst ourselves. You're thinking, that's also inappropriate. How we
Yeah.
respond to one another.
I think that we're splitting hairs. One is inappropriate action and another is actual like offensible
But I
action or,
see your,
I see your point,
I
I do.
think if we look at the organizational structure, technically the council is the top, right?
Right.
And so now you're having the city administrator or the attorney talk to one of the council members that can cause some animosity. And so I think for me, I think it's gonna depend on a case by case basis, because if it's sexual harassment, right?
City attorney needs to be
Then
there.
I think city attorney and another kind of mayor.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it alone.
What about
but
just throwing the mayor in there?
I'm okay with running. Well,
Or vice mayor.
what do you think?
I think throwing
Yeah.
that in there makes sense.
Mm.
But there, you know, it's not just, you know, sexual harassment and things like that. It's sometimes like somebody might need to communicate to you like, hey, if you do that, that's an unfair labor practice or something like that. Like something that is not obviously bad.
Right.
It's just
Right.
kind of an advisory, like
Yeah.
as a heads up, you know? So I think that having those kind of functions where the city administrator and or legal going directly to you to talk about an issue makes a lot of sense. But also having the mayor makes sense too.
I think adding the mayor.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And if it's the mayor, it just goes to vice mayor.
So adding the mayor means the city administrator or the city attorney and the mayor?
Yes, I think that's.
And so I think it could also just be the mayor, right?
Or it could just, yeah.
Depending on,
It all depends on.
I
Do you want city
Right, I-
administrator removed? Do you want that?
I think again, it depends. My mind didn't go when it said inappropriate. I just thought it was the way that council responded in a council meeting. I didn't go to inappropriate actions.
Like
So,
sexual, yeah.
yeah, my mind didn't
Well,
go.
yeah, or taking
You're
money
saying
on the.
like, right now, me losing it on
Yeah.
Sam.
Right.
And maybe Steve doesn't wanna come to me because I might lose it on him, so
Right.
it's that Jen's.
Yeah,
gonna
and
come to me
and that's
say,
what I was
"Hey,
thinking. So I think it depends on the situation, so I don't know how we could word that well to make that, I, obviously, if it's inappropriate action as being defined by sexual harassment or whatever else, then I think that is, city attorney or city administrator's place along with the mayor.
Could you put depending on
I-
severity,
yeah, I-
depending on
how would you
severity
guys want?
In circumstance.
by council?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
If there's an outburst or something, then that's one thing and the mayor can go
Right.
wrong. But if it's a bribery thing,
You
then-
always have the power, you have an inherent power to regulate yourselves. So if something were to happen in the meeting, there's censure and things like that, that you would always have the ability to talk. So you could always talk to each other,
Mhm.
independently of this.
Right. Right, okay.
What about outside of council?
It's weird because you get into Brown Act concerns.
Well, no, I know, but what if there was a concern about somebody's behavior while not sitting at this council and,
Like at a restaurant.
yeah, or something,
I think
or, yeah.
Well, it speaks about it in the handbook, about what our behavior should be
Yeah.
when we're in public.
So who, it would be mayor stepping in those scenarios and say, hey, Mike, I want to talk to you about how you acted
Why,
at church
Mike?
yesterday? Yeah, I mean, to me, this is like gray.
I think it's
Case by
great,
case.
but yeah, it's case by case and throw in the mayor.
It's always.
And then you can,
Yeah. That's why we have, you can just call.
I don't think it's a bad idea to throw mayor in there though,
Thanks.
in that description of who should be one of the people.
Yeah, the more I'm
Okay.
thinking about it, I like city attorney mayor more than city administrator, probably just in case.
So do you guys want to take city administrator out
Yeah.
or just add the mayor?
I'd leave all three. I mean, that, I do and or in there with all three. Because there might be things that you need to include the city administrator on if it's, yeah.
Okay.
It's different with an interim that is retired, but if you have somebody that's been, their job depends
That's
on
right.
the will of the council.
Right.
And it's that person that's gonna say, hey, mayor, you shouldn't have done X, Y, and, there's a tactful way to do it, but there's always gonna be that,
There is.
Yeah, like
You're
I set myself
hesitant.
up.
yeah.
No, there is.
Okay.
Okay, so I got add mayor.
Start as well, Adriel next.
Chapter 10, section B1.
And
Chapter 10.
You got to go down,
Chapter
man.
6.
182.
Thank you.
Look at Michelle
Almost
go.
there. What was the section again? Sorry.
B1.
Bingo.
So the question that generated this, was who appoints committee members? Is it just the mayor? Is it the vote of the council? Because in nowhere in our policy did it specify who has the authority to designate, standing committees, basically.
the entire council does.
182, your section B.
One.
Right here. This one.
It
Okay.
just lists out the board.
So the final sentence of that section
that's not-
says, the mayor may solicit interest from council members to serve on committees, but final selection of committee participation is at the mayor's discretion. So for example, when we get the new council in January and it's time to appoint people to the COG committee, is that a vote of the council? Does the mayor just say, I appoint you and you? It didn't specify in here. So we need some direction from you. Is that how you want it? Do you want the mayor to appoint committee members? Do you want it to be a vote of the council?
You've been on the longest, Alvin.
I would say it's a vote of the council, just from, everybody's got conflicting schedules. I mean, we could do it as everybody puts in what, I don't know. I think the way it works now, I mean, from the past 6+ years, I think it works okay. I would leave it the way it is as amongst the council, we decide on
Right.
on the boards and committees. And there may be one that you really want, and there may be one that you really want, or whatever. So I would leave it as the board decides about itself at the first.
Okay.
What is it? The second meeting in January, or is it the first?
We do it all.
Also at the first meeting in January.
So we
Yeah,
can
and it
strike
does say that in here, but
Oh, it
I
does,
think
okay.
that, I don't have the color version, but I don't think this part existed before.
Okay.
That last paragraph that
It's all
says in
purple.
addition,
It's
Yeah.
It's all purple.
It's all purple, yeah.
it's all, yeah, so that's an addition where the
Are the
attorney,
blues added too?
They are.
Okay, so
Yeah.
UWPA budget, which is G,
I was gonna say.
that's
that means-
determined at Utica.
Right.
That's not determined.
That's not determined, here, so
Okay,
you
so
can
strike
scratch
that
that out here. Mhm.
Yeah, is
And I
all,
feel like we're
all
missing-
hazards won't be a standing committee any longer, will it?
So are you guys just referring to the committees you serve on?
Yeah.
Right.
yes,
No, all hazards is done.
There's
Yeah.
that.
so.
Okay, so we can update that. That's fine.
And there's some that are.
Finance
I'm sorry.
budget.
Right,
The last two, I and
Yeah.
J, those were just ad hocs, weren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Those are just ad hoc.
Subcommittees.
Oh, subcommittee, sorry.
Okay.
So they-
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
We didn't do
But we
that.
really stopped doing that, didn't we?
We
We
did.
did it for a minute.
We found
Yeah,
that we all
scratch 'em.
needed to kind of
Right.
know everything that was being presented.
Did I hear scratch J?
You're gonna
I-
scratch
I
I
and
and
J.
J.
It just was.
If you can appoint those.
G, H, I, and J.
And then, but there's, Sarah Economic Development,
That's.
that's on. is it here?
No, that's on there. That's the
Oh, it is.
Central.
Sorry.
Foundation.
museum. We're not sitting on the museum anymore. And then, there's IMWR,
And Mark
staff,
WA,
but
that's staff.
Dan's doing that, okay.
Could you put in there, and other boards as needed or something?
As they write, because
Yeah, this was
So
a
you don't
suggestion,
change
so this
them.
didn't exist before, but the attorney's office suggested that we just list all the current standing committees. I'm not sure that, you know, we need that. We can strike, because we don't have to specify what committees, because it might change your.
That's the thing, is once you list them and then they're in there, so.
You want to strike.
I would just
the
say committees as needed or something of that nature.
Yeah.
I mean,
whole. So the city has the following standing committees. We'll probably just strike that sentence and A through J,
I would,
right? Because
Yeah.
committees might change
Yeah,
and.
right.
yes.
Okay. So the next issue is the second paragraph that essentially says that input will be taken, but the mayor appoints.
No.
we just hashed it out.
It was-
I don't
We just
think it
said
ever
the
came
only
down to
time-
mayor.
No, the only time would have been last January when
Mhm.
there were more people that wanted one.
Yeah, and what I mean is, it didn't exist before, and this is the attorney's
Recommendation.
Suggestion.
recommend. It's not like, I think you should do this, but it's just some language to give us a starting point to talk about.
Well, you could, I mean, leave it in there and if it came to like a tie or.
That's what I'm saying. The only
something
thing I
like
can see as a tie is the mayor could decide the tie.
Yeah.
But past that, I would.
Why are you scratching out the ad hoc committees are formed in an as needed basis? 'Cause
That's
still-
a block.
Isn't there a line on
No,
that?
it's just like, if you-
So it is, well, then ad hoc committee will
They
consist,
are
it is,
formed
yeah.
as an ad needed, I can't speak. I guess I'm not understanding why
So
that.
these ad hoc committees are dissolved upon completion of the intended tasks up above it. So it says additional, special purpose task
Right.
force ad hoc committees are often appointed. That's what addresses
Which is-
specific
So ad hocs are formed and then
Yeah.
resolved
And then there's that's
when the task is done.
So when we talk about appointed, again, when you think about appointed, my sense is Jen would say, who wants to be on these committees? And then Isabel would say, I'd like to be on this committee, and Caroline, and then you would say, I appoint.
no.
I mean, what I'm suggesting is that you're not appointing, you're not saying, hey, Caroline, you be on this committee. You're gonna ask who wants to serve.
Malady of it, right?
Yeah, and you're gonna validate who wants to do that. That's what I would think appoint means. Not that you have sole authority, not that the mayor has sole authority to appoint. I think you're gonna solicit volunteers.
I would say the clerk.
Yeah, we would.
Yeah.
I would say,
Those ones,
it's over on your plate, Rob,
these ones are.
which is what you've already done. Which is what we have.
Well, that's right, but then you're gonna suggest, I mean, we did it back on the bond council.
Tie.
Or you could, can we do a vote on that if there comes a tie?
I think there
You
needs
just
to
do
be a vote if
like
there's a
negative,
tie.
like a roll call.
That's how we
Yeah.
are.
Let's just do
We
it.
did,
So don't have it say there, mayor, say it would be a majority vote of the
A
entire
tie would be a
council.
majority
Yeah.
vote.
So instead of the last sentence, the mayor may solicit interest, just say in the event or each decision or each council appointment is on the majority vote of the entire council.
Yeah, I think there
I think
needs to be a
it comes down
majority
to-
vote if there's a tie.
Which we typically do a motion once we get
Yeah.
all of the
Yeah.
appointments.
Yes, we do.
And then we say, great, let's get a motion on this. But the moving around and the finagling, we don't do individual votes on.
Also,
No,
could
we
you
all,
just say, but, final selection of community participation is at the, whatever resolutions? As opposed to it saying at the mayor's discretion.
right,
Is by resolution.
by resolution.
Yeah, by resolution.
You get it?
Rose got it. Clear got it.
Keep it the way we've been doing
Yeah,
it.
but we haven't done a resolution. We don't
vote
vote
and then
just-
just-
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because you don't have a resolution to
Yeah.
do it yet. Okay. You're not writing anything down,
Just-
Steve.
We're gonna talk to them, I'll put the list from the prior year, and some will go, well, I wanna stay on that one, but I don't want this one, and this one will go, I want that one, and I'll give up. So they talk amongst themselves, and then they go, okay, and then it's like, okay, this is what I've got, and I'll go over it, and then somebody motions it.
And someone will say,
second.
man, Alvin's on a lot right now.
Yeah.
Alvin, do you want to give one up and I can take one more?
Or I can't do,
Whatever.
I can't do the ones during the daytime.
Exactly. That's what we,
Yeah,
But if two council members
Want one.
want the same
Uh-huh.
position, then the council would
Vote.
vote
could
and
just
select that member,
majority vote.
majority vote.
yeah.
So however you need to work it to accomplish that.
Okay.
Will's got it.
You got that?
Perfect.
Because I think it's more geared towards how the actual, not the sausage and how you come to the, who's going to sit on the committees, but how that's approved. I
Right,
think is ultimately what.
Yeah.
right,
Right.
right.
Perfect.
3 of 6 is done. Number 4,
But we can find the page first, chapter.
That's Isabel.
chapter 11,
Mhm.
section K.
K.
This one should be fairly easy.
185.
Consent?
Oh, yeah, this is the one, huh, Steve?
Consent calendar. What is it?
Chapter 11, section K.
Yeah, we're-
185.
Okay,
So this is never a big problem here, but this is a huge, I don't know who made this recommendation. I don't think they
Well,
did, but this has been a huge problem at the county before.
but I asked because it's, every meeting we ask if the public wants to pull an agenda item, but our handbook didn't.
Didn't say it was appropriate.
Yeah,
So I was probably doing it wrong.
no, I didn't say you were.
No, but I mean, so the county at one time, and I don't know where they stand right now, if the public can or can't, but there were times where, we had, so the county might have 10 or 15 items on consent, and you want those to pretty much get motioned as a whole to make it more efficient. And so the public would sometimes pull every single one to get up and have,
Was there.
to have the opportunity to sing a song or do whatever, just to get more public comment, more screen time. And this was probably during the fire, COVID, whatever. And so meetings were going until 10, 11 o'clock at night, from 8 a.m. and so they decided, I think at one time, and I don't know where they stand right now, whether they can be pulled or not. I don't think we have the problem, but it could become a problem and we might want to remove that. But I think
Right now, it said that they didn't have the ability to pull,
Right.
and we're changing it to say they do have the ability to pull.
yeah, it's up to you guys. I don't think it's a problem to let
It
them.
says a member of the public may not pull an item from the consent calendar.
I thought you changed it.
Well, no, that's the question is, do you want to change to
Oh.
give them the ability?
Maybe it.
May request.
Yeah. Do you want the public to be able to pull consent?
I think
Other
they should
items
be able
or
to.
not.
I don't think it's a huge problem for us, so I would.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
If it becomes a problem,
Readdress it.
There's never any
If it
hot
becomes-
items on there, I mean.
I know.
Yeah.
If it becomes a
And
problem,
it's-
then we can scratch things.
Mhm.
Okay, everyone on board with that?
Yes.
Number 5 is chapter 12, section F.
Page 190.
Uh-oh, I lost it, Michelle.
Length of
Gotcha.
council
Length of
comment.
The question is, should individual council members be limited to 5 minutes of talking about a specific agenda item? This calls for, comments from council members are limited to 5 minutes for each council member unless the council by concurrence extends such time.
So we aren't even doing that right now.
No,
And this is, I think this is new.
no, I think it was there.
It was
in our handbook.
It was there, but I mean, yeah, I don't know, I feel like if you have a long discussion point to make, it should be allowed to have that discussion.
And we don't even
I-
time it.
I
And
think-
sometimes a comment gets made that's first an
Another
idea or
thought.
thought for another comment. So
Well, or
I don't
I
even
come
know that.
into a meeting feeling I would lean one way, and then after hearing you all, I thought, oh, I hear a different perspective, and, so I don't.
I'm actually kind of leaning towards striking the restriction as it reads.
I don't know. Or leave it, I mean, and we can, you self-monitor.
Well, you don't wanna leave something and we don't follow it though, Alvin. You know what I'm
Well, but
saying?
how many times how many times have you talked for 5 minutes? You need like 4 minutes and 59 seconds. But, and when does it,
At any one time?
and when does it start over? Because you say a comment, then you say something and it bounces back.
Right.
Your clock should start over.
See, I read that, you only get 5 minutes and then you gotta,
Yeah,
and you know, you can't.
That's not the way well,
No, that's how it is.
I think
I
is
think you guys are more respectful of understanding that the time, and I think it was more of a, to keep the meeting not going so late, so.
but how many times has Caroline said that you come in with one opinion? I mean, look how much time
Oh, I
we spent on the 218.
I know.
Right,
You
and
know?
how valuable that was.
I mean, we
It was
built
really
$5 million
valuable.
out of that or whatever.
Yeah, that was really valuable.
So that amount of time.
so the first two
Get out of there.
sentences say you're gonna govern yourself,
Yeah.
There you go.
and the council delegates to the chair, which is the mayor, the responsibility of assisting the council and the council member to be speaking for an excessive period of time. Boom, leave it.
Done. Exactly.
Then delete everything else about restrictions. So it's kind of putting it up to yourself to self-govern and then the mayor to assist.
Done.
Or help move it forward.
Thank you. Perfect.
I mean, and then if it,
You know,
Then you can have the conversation.
see,
You're not
The council and the city.
Back to, section, chapter 3, section.
Page 182.
See, I don't think we, because it wasn't a bone of contention, but in the handbook, it talks about the fact that when we have a new agenda item, we all have the ability to say what we think about that item, and then you move right to public comment and let the public give us information, then it comes back to us instead of the other way.
I think
It says that in here, and I like that process.
Well,
Of
I think
us
you're,
having our deep discussion before we throw it out.
No, I think we all say one thing and then open it up, because all these folks would have a lot to say to us, and then we bring it back.
we immediately do public comment before.
After, no, I think it's some agenda item like the Prop 218, for example. Mike, do you have a comment? Does any council member have a comment about this agenda item? If not, we take it to the public.
Right.
And then once the public gives us input, then we come back to us and we talk.
Right.
So that, at least we've heard the public and then we can then talk about it. That's what our handbook says, and I like that process.
I think that's what we do, right?
Well, after public, once.
we bring it back. Take a further discussion.
Yeah,
And it's not, I think I look for a motion. That's, I mean,
yeah,
that's what.
that's what I've been doing, but.
But I don't think that's partly because don't you have to have a motion to have discussion in
No,
Robert's Rule of Order or one? No.
That discussion is limited after the.
That's it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, stepping way back.
And I think we do that, but I think we do it after we've discussed for a while,
For sure.
as opposed to just
Yeah.
getting
But
it.
sometimes I think that's good for the public too, because
They
then
hear
it makes,
too.
because sometimes their question
Right.
gets answered, and now they have another question. And
Right,
Right.
and then comes back and then
right,
it
right.
spurs more discussion.
I kind of like the way we do it. But
It's-
It's in the handbook.
Yeah.
What section is that on?
it's in there. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
the
it's
things
in
you
here.
wanted to talk about? Or
No.
you- Oh, okay.
No, I think that's the way it's been. So it's chapter 11. Chapter 11. Section E,
180.
where it talks about public hearing general procedure. Staff presents their report, initial questions to the staff by the council. It's then opened up to a public hearing.
Mhm.
And then it comes back for questions, discussion from the council. So I think, I defer to Will, but I think the intent is you should not make your decision until you've heard
Public
from.
Right.
Well, then that-
But before it goes to public, after staff makes their presentation, there's this little window of opportunity where you can ask clarifying questions to the staff before it's open to the public. And then it comes back to you, so you have the full staff presentation, public comments before you make your decision.
And then something could have come up in public comment that we would like staff to address.
Exactly.
We could address staff, but they can't address them. So
Yeah.
I think we're doing it right.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, next and last is, chapter 13, section D1.
Chapter
And
13.
then one,
What page?
95, right?
195,
Mhm.
Well, that went
Comment
up.
cards?
That was me, because I didn't even know we had comment, I was like, do we
We don't
have
do
comment cards? Do we want to strike this? Like, if we're not gonna do it, then let's just take it out.
Yeah.
If we're,
So-
if we're just always having people come to the podium.
But I like the idea if somebody's too, I mean, if you read that though, if they're nervous or they can't public speak, then they could fill a card out and one of us could read it or someone else could read it.
Do they do it on site or do they have to do it before?
You have to do the emails prior,
They-
like
yeah.
one day prior.
But we've always done that. It's not like a
Right.
comment card.
The only thing I can.
I just was,
throw out
I didn't know.
And that comment would be read during our.
Yes,
Yeah.
the only thing
So
I
it
can,
has to be the day.
I can't remember, was it COVID? Because we were completely virtual
Oh,
and somebody read public comments
I-
and they were
I-
by email.
I did at one point.
Yeah, I remember that. That's the only thing I'm trying to remember if we've ever done it. That's the only time I've ever had read
Mhm.
comments, so.
But isn't that kind of the same with the teams in the chat? Like we're allowing people to ask their questions through the chat.
Yeah, so I think you gotta kind
So if
of.
we keep it, then let's have the comment cards available. That's my point.
But they're not, if someone fills out a comment card here, it's not gonna get read.
Exactly.
It's gonna have to be submitted
Gotta be filled
prior
out
to.
prior.
Yeah.
But then we can't do comments on Zoom then.
Why, I mean,
What's the difference?
because they're commenting on the podium here, or they're commenting like Joel commented on Zoom.
No, no, and
Oh, you're talking about chat?
Chat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, what we should do is just put note cards on the podium and just.
Non-verbal comments,
Yeah.
Right.
so some sort of a
Why couldn't they submit
non-verbal
them
comment.
at
should
the,
not
at
be
the
accepted.
meeting? Why can't they submit comments at the meeting to be read?
I don't know.
I don't know how, I guess I was asking
I can't think of one
logistically.
either,
yeah.
but I wanna say the county or something either way, who knows? Submit them, I don't care if you have.
I just
It was
wanted
at
to-
that time we was getting kind of touchy and people were taking too long, so they were asking for that to be submitted in
In advance.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's-
I
Because
think
people
that's what it
kept
was.
submitting
Oh.
stuff and it just
Yeah.
like kept.
Dragging it out, maybe that's what it
Yeah,
was.
I think so.
It kinda-
I think you're right.
It was
Yeah,
like
I
the
think
green
you-
rush stuff was happening.
Yeah,
over the-
yeah,
And the meetings were taking,
Days,
yeah.
so I think that's.
maybe
what
that's
all
what it was.
Because they're helping people that have said, oh, I'm not
that.
comfortable, so how would that logistically, like Rose would slip them an index card and then they could write it down
Yeah,
and give
always
it
say
back?
at the beginning of the meeting that if you have public comment, and
And you're not
comfortable coming up to the podium, we have these comment cards you can fill out. And then
And we
submit
can
them give them to Rose.
and then Rose can read.
27 months, Alvin.
I'll
The
give you another
only
6
part
years.
that is, I don't understand the
2 years,
pacing of
buddy.
that is the timing of that. Like if somebody fills it out and it's for item G and we've already gone past G, then how you gotta go back?
You missed it.
You missed it.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna be a quick
We're
writer.
treating it the same as public.
yeah, yeah.
So we're sitting there waiting for someone to write something. Well,
Well, I mean,
I know, I don't know.
it happens once in a blue moon.
Like for.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just gonna say, can you put something on the agenda that just states, just like how we.
Yeah,
like
on the very
APA
bottom,
25.
48 hours prior.
Identification for the required meeting to make reasonable arrangements. That's for like agency.
So I'm just saying, if you wanted to add something about if you have public comment, you wanna submit it.
Non-verbal public comments are available via email
Or card.
or card or chat. No chat.
Too, we can strike it.
And
So often have we used it?
That's what I said. I said
Accommodate, that's, you know.
If someone has a special request, we always accommodate. I don't think we need to keep this in here because we're not doing it.
Correct.
And in all reality, if they're not comfortable standing up on the podium, then we're going to talk to, one of us is going to talk during a break or after
Yeah.
to say, hey, do you
Yeah.
mind, you know?
Could we just
Right?
say that public comment is accommodated the best of our abilities? I mean, whether written, verbal, or whatever, I don't know.
By appointment?
Maybe that just gets.
So well, if, because we did have a participant who did not like to get up and speak for
And
a
they
while.
sat down and kept talking. They
Yeah.
just wanted to talk from their seat.
Right.
Like,
So who would then, if we took a break, and could I approach that person and they could say to me, hey, Mike, this is what I wanted to say, then could I, in my position, repeat what that person said? Like Will,
Yeah.
this was Will's comment.
Yeah.
Who could make that? Who could do that?
But it's word.
We're past that, unfortunately.
Exactly. So it would,
You
Okay,
can make it
so.
in your council member.
you would have moved on already and resolved the
We've already
Okay,
voted on it.
so if someone walks, okay, let's do it the other way. If someone walked in, Michelle walks into the meeting, she sits down, before the meeting started, she goes, Mike, come here, I wanna talk to you.
Yeah, that would be fine. You could say, a member of the public brought up this concern to me.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
okay.
And also, I think just as a matter of course, if somebody wanted to communicate during the public comment, there's nothing wrong with accommodating however
Yeah.
that communication were to occur.
Perfect, so then
There
we
you go.
really don't need that then.
Scratch.
So we should scratch it.
We do.
We're not doing comment cards.
Make her go.
We do have a question from.
I did, the comment cards in other public hearings that I've attended, they are something you do before the meeting starts, and they all get given to the chair, who then knows how many public comments there are going to be during the public
And when
hearing.
to read them, under which
Yeah.
And
item.
they're not actual comments, they're my name, they're a comment card, I wish to make a comment during that particular item, that's where I've always seen them used.
Oh.
Oh.
That's not what
Like a
that.
Yeah.
I don't wanna come and talk at the council meeting, I just wanna submit my card.
Right.
We got Facebook for this.
So, Will, as long as we're willing to make an accommodation for people, then we probably don't need this then.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
So we're gonna strike
Strike
item
it.
1 altogether.
Strike D, don't-
Strike the whole
Maybe
comment.
we keep to the 5 minutes on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Gotta give me fine, huh?
That's, are we done with the handbook one now?
we
Yeah.
are-
Except you should read and study the tenants, we're gonna have a test.
Okay.
On the list of
What
What
tenants.
day is that? I might have to be out of town.
So are we, can I have public comment on this item Rich, before we discuss it anymore? Amy?
Sorry, I just wanted a clarification on the mayor appointing committee members. That's the mayor appointing city council representatives to committees.
And
Right.
we're changing that so that it is a majority vote of council to appoint.
Okay. So you
Not,
would
not
guys-
appointing commission,
Not
not appointing planning
So-
commission.
Well, no, I'm thinking all hazards. You tell Mike he drew the short straw. But you don't have to also then let, the fire department do everybody else.
Oh, yeah, no, just for our
Just
board.
for
I did not, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, so bringing it back, do we need, we've clarified,
No.
do we need a motion for approval of this? Are you ready for that, Steve, or just direction?
That would be approved at the December 3rd.
Any other comments from you guys about the handbook and things that you think should be addressed?
No, but thank you for all that work.
This is like monumental that we
This is
talked about this for
Years.
a while.
It's so cool, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Much needed, much needed. So now we're ready to move on to administration report. Steve, you're gonna talk to us about 584 South Main.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So staff has done a little bit of work in addressing, the old city hall 584. South Main Street, yes. So the intent is to take the fence down, post the property with signs indicating that unauthorized presence on the property is prohibited. The signs have been ordered, the fence company has been contacted, they need about a week to 2 week time. They're out of Stockton before they can come and take the fence down. I just want to make sure that we have the signs in hand and we're ready to install the signs before we take the fence down. So that's all in the works to happen. Staff has contacted 3 different realtors and just to get not an appraisal, but just a rough estimate with your experience as a realtor. If we were to do no work to this building and just sell it as is, what's your estimate of what you, in your professional opinion, think we can get from it? If you remember last time we put it up for sale, I think 2021, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000, 400 and something thousand.
480.
Yeah, just below 500. Now the estimate is roughly 375 to sell it as is. So that's the feedback from the realtors. I've also contacted a couple of roofing companies. 2 of them are providing bids. I have not really a bid. This is just an informal,
Normal quote.
yes, informal conversation. And one of them actually sent me a quote, and that quote is for $15,400 to replace the roof. Each of the roofing contractors that I've contacted are familiar with the building. They're all in this area and they know exactly where City Hall was because they went to that building to get their permits to do their roofing work in town. Each one of them has said, yes, that roof needs to be replaced. No hesitation, no question about it. So I just wanted to report back to you that we are doing some work at that building, getting the fence taken down, getting the sign put up, contacting the realtors, and then getting estimates from the roofing company. If the 15 to 20,000 doesn't scare you, I can bring an item back for you to consider. If you want to invest that money in the roof to preserve the building through the winter. The one that I spoke with today said that they have capacity to start the job this month. They estimate it would take 1 day to strip the roof, depending on what they find under when they strip the roof. If beams need to be replaced, that may take a day or two, and then putting the new roof on it would take about 2 days. So they say from the time they get the green light to start the work, if they're able to start quickly or not, their time would take them about a week to get the roof replaced, if that's something you want to do. So I can bring that back to you at the December 3rd, if there's head nodding interest in considering that, or we can wait until the beginning of the year.
Or let's.
I think the responsible
Or
thing to
listen.
do is to re-roof it. That's not that much money. I mean, it's gonna take us a couple months to sell it. If we sell it, if we get offers, and it could dilapidate more.
Well, it's gonna be worth more money.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't wanna go in, and that 15,000 is a pretty fair price, I
I
think.
thought so.
I
too.
Very fair.
Good for a tear off and everything.
And I
So
did
tell
go
the
the
realtors
last
it's
time
gonna have a new roof.
The last time I went in there with a realtor, I think it was last week, I can't remember. The realtor pointed out that there was a leak.
Yeah, because it's-
Yeah, I didn't see it. It was a couple times I went in
It's
there,
gonna
but
get worse.
you can see on the floor where the carpet is discolored and
You don't want that.
on the ceiling.
Where
Water
would you pull
damage.
this 15 came from?
I think we
Just out
have
of
several
curiosity.
options.
Do we have a building maintenance fee?
We do have some capital improvement fees set aside. Nothing that's been budgeted, but we have some reserves. We also have still some ARPA money left. So that would be an
So
option.
is that what we would look at next meeting is where we would pull the funds?
I would
from?
bring you options
Okay.
to fund it, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the information now, but.
I hate waiting another things because we have a lot of things from there, but.
So I can bring something back to the 3rd, to.
I know.
I'm torn on this.
Or I can wait.
Sell it.
Just sell it.
Not, dude.
Just knock another 15 grand off
Yeah, but it's
the
gonna
price,
take-
sell it.
I know,
Well-
by the time I know. But they
By
buy
the time
it, you
you
buy it
get
as
an
it
offer,
They
is.
may be doing a big gut on it, I mean, who
Yeah,
knows?
they may
But
rip
they-
the roof right off
Yeah,
that sucker, and you just put a brand new one on.
I hate investing some money in something that we're literally gonna turn around and sell, and I just don't know what the public opinion will be on that either.
I know, I have a real tough, I don't know, I'm very torn. I understand preserving what we have,
And
but
if it's, what was it, 3 something?
375,
And you knock 20 grand off there and say, hey, get your own roof, bye-bye.
right, I mean, that's,
I think that discussion has to come when we have a discussion about how we're gonna do the city. You know, when we talk about, it's
All
almost
of the
8 o'clock,
facilities.
yeah. Facilities and
Yeah.
what we're gonna use and how we're gonna update and things. And I think ultimately the decision could be made to sell it, but, you know, maybe ultimately the decision is the city keeps it and does something else with it.
you better come up with some options then.
Well, I don't wanna need your,
Right,
I also,
yeah.
I think we need, just like I talked about, you know, on Monday, Helping Hands fed 61 families. And I just think if we could talk with Resource and Sierra Hope, and they have money, maybe that, I would like to
Well, we
see
would
that
have to
building
offer it to
being
them.
used.
So how does and we have to do the surplus property anyway,
Right, but
how does the surplus, sorry,
no, you're,
how does surplus work? Do they pay a fraction of the cost? Do they pay when we get an
If it's
appraisal,
valued
they
at $375,
You only pay up to fair market
they
value.
can, but could we sell it to somebody for $25? Or, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that if Sierra Hope wants it, that would be wonderful to feed family and have a food bank right here in town. I would love it. I'd sell to for $100 bill.
Yeah.
But is that fair and market and that, I mean,
Yeah,
can we
have
do
to
that?
look into that because of, gift of funds and.
Yeah.
Right. But I
But-
don't wanna wait 2 more years and let it just keep
No, I
dilapidating.
don't
This
either.
is
I
something,
don't either.
I'm all for doing what you're talking about,
But I don't
You gotta
think
make the
it's,
ball
I think
roll.
we were talking about, your timeline was in January, start to talk about our vision for city properties and how are we gonna use our facilities and things. I thought at some point we were gonna do it.
We're
after
gonna have
the
a
first
special
of the year.
meeting.
scratched it, but
Because of the election.
Oh, the
who
election.
was gonna
Right.
sit in these.
I mean, that's a whole, that's a month, those are months,
City Hall.
that's a huge lift.
Right.
If you're talking about that space need assessment thing, you're talking then, that might not leave for
So-
a year.
Can you find out sort of the surplus options and then at our next meeting, I know it's 2 weeks away and there will probably be storms between now and then, like that is our drop dead, we need to make a decision, are we replacing
And
this
then we need to
roof or are
tarp it
we?
over the
Yeah,
next 2
yeah.
weeks. Tarps are, $50. I don't know.
Well, do we have to call the 7-Eleven committee like school districts do when they sell surplus property?
I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
It's okay, I think,
We've done surplus.
but a 7-Eleven was composed of certain members of the community.
I don't get it.
And then they would make a determination, but then, just as we're talking now, it has to be put out to public agencies first. They have the first, right of first refusal.
That makes sense. I don't know off the top of my head, I can look into that.
So look into surplus, do your fence down, signage, realtors. What are we doing about the roof immediately? Tarping it, putting it on hold until we know more about surplus, or not tarping it, letting it continue to leak? What are we doing?
It's a very temporary.
You don't want mold starting to grow in that building.
No.
It's already there.
I hope,
Yeah, that's got-
I hope.
I mean, this is
How about-
just a short term bit. I don't,
It's a super short term.
It's a
thing.
super short term.
And that, I said code violation, is that not? I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, having a
Tarp
tarp
it,
on your
right?
roof? Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
that's right, then we're violating our own.
Yeah, we don't want to do
so,
that.
yeah, I mean, I guess we wanna let it ride in 2 weeks, and then if he can pull the trigger on it and we decide to do the roof, and then for that.
So this will come at the next council meeting, for us to decide surplus versus throw some money at it and list it.
So did they give
If you
you,
wanted to, sure, I can break it down.
did they give you an indication how difficult it would be to sell that building?
Not other than it is a very valuable Caltrans access point that's not common, and that's the real value, the location.
Yeah.
Is the real value of that property, that's what the realtors.
Oh, because it's access off
Yes.
the highway.
And you can-
That's the most
That's
value,
the
that's
most-
why I feel like putting 15 grand into a roof.
I think
for
somebody
someone
will
might
knock
be able
that
to
building
pay.
down and put something else in,
Yeah.
is my own. And there's
Okay.
water, sewer and power already there too.
Oh,
That's gonna be really.
because it is access off the highway.
Yeah.
Or maybe they
That
could
was the
move it
real
again.
value.
Somebody might wanna move their house again.
The location central in the city, that was the other thing they mentioned, that, it's essential to everything, and access on the 49 when you already have a Caltrans, permission is, the value.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Chad Follendorf's property is for sale next door.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so do you want it back on for the next meeting, or, yes?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I have another thing at that property, if the fence is coming down, that tree used to be lit up for Christmas, for holidays, and I don't know if it'd be possible to do that again, just to bring a little bit of festiveness to that area, cause it's pretty gross.
I don't think we have the bucket
I
truck
think
anymore.
the tree's still alive, oh, is it with the bucket tree?
We used to have the bucket truck, we don't have that.
It's that huge tree that's right next to the building and the grass.
Okay.
But I do think, in conjunction with that, I think maybe a little bit of cleanup, whether it's weed eating or something, once the fence comes down.
Yeah, we're already
A
talking
little-
to Chris about, once that fence comes down, just some general
Cleanup,
cleanup. They already go there and water the lawn every, so often, but just something to make it look a little nicer, and, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're on board with that.
Okay. Is that it? We'll move on to item 11, council report. Carolyn.
Do you have your cog notes? Because I left my cog notes behind. I have, so one of the things we talked about was the public transit, human services transportation plan 2024. If anybody wants to see it, I got it.
I have mine too, if anybody wants it.
And then do you want to do the rest of?
Sure, let me get here, this calendar's next. Sorry,
Okay, all right, I left my notes.
I have multiple, okay. Caltrans, Grace is now our new District 10 supervisor. For Calaveras County, there's $9.3 million in shop projects for this coming year. Discussion of possible direction on regional electric vehicle infrastructure coordination, CPPA. We're going to give a regional approach for all agencies in the county to use, which I'm assuming you were at that meeting and you took on that. So we voted yes to have CPPA kind of take the lead on that for all agencies. Presentation of the draft 24 Calaveras Coordinated Public Transportation Human Service Transportation Plan, which is here, is basically better transportation around the county and the goals to provide that. We did a lot of money, not shuffling. They were already approved, but we put it into the fund we needed to do for 16, 17, 18. And that's what we did for 19. That was about, minute order approving a multi-year agreement with Rances
Oh, yeah.
for
that's the
meeting
software.
agenda software.
Yeah, the software.
So they're gonna get some new software.
Yeah.
And we got $60,000.
Yes,
Yes, that has been allocated already. We've already written a proposal. And I guess it's gonna be for road repairs or something.
yes.
Do you have more on that?
That's all I got for my little notes
Okay,
there.
and then I went to, what did I go to? I went to the Habitat for Humanity event last night. And then I went to the UPUD, rate study workshop that they had last Thursday. I attended that. That's it.
I attended LAFCO last night. Let's see. We discussed a municipal service review and sphere of influence workshop regarding special street lighting districts and public agencies providing street lighting services in Calaveras County. We did a review on the CalPO conference. We granted a time extension for a UPUD annexation, and then we set a regular meeting schedule for 2025. Yeah, and coming up, we'll be doing a cemetery district review and then a veterans district review, but not Angels Camp.
Not the Angels Camp, but
The Angels Camp. Apparently our veterans district is in very good shape. There's a couple others that we'll need to review. And that is all.
I also attended Central Sierra Economic Development the other day. The main thing that was there was action item number 4. A gentleman named Alex, they hired about 6 months ago. What it is, it's called Youth Entrepreneurship Project for Sierra Job First. So they're gonna whittle this down. They're gonna talk to high school kids from Sonora, Bret Harte, all over the place. And they're gonna pick 5 new businesses for the talented youth. So they're gonna figure out, they do not have an answer yet on how to apply, when to apply, what the application process looks like, but they have $250,000 to put out there. So the gentleman's name is Alex. We just voted to basically approve the $250,000 and move forward with this youth entrepreneurship program. So 5 businesses will be picked out of that, and they'll meet with business leaders in the industry in the county. What else? It was pretty interesting. And then past that, they reminded to turn in your Form 700s, which Rose does for us and makes us on time.
I'll start again in January.
Yep.
No, she will.
That's about it for Sierra Economic Development. And if they want to see those, I have these right here.
And our meeting was canceled, all hazards,
all done.
and we're all done. So I have nothing to report for between our last meeting and this meeting.
Been a solid waste task force.
Nope. First one, right after the first of the year, and that was it.
Shit.
Right, right.
So I don't know.
I don't know if someone's picking it up.
Patrick,
Yeah, she's gone for a while. She'll be returning.
Yeah.
It'll probably pick back up then.
And then I only had LAFCO also last night, so I have nothing else to report other than LAFCO.
Sure.
Calendar for November and December, right?
Calendar, so we got November up. I added this groundbreaking
So
one.
that's been canceled.
The 26th one is
That
canceled?
one has been canceled?
Really? Oh my goodness, I put it in December, and then I was told to move it to the 26th.
That was a great idea.
Okay, so
And
let's.
then, UWPA is not in November
It's
because
on the
it's
10th.
it's the, it's the
Outage.
outage. However, we do have a FERC meeting, a UWPA FERC meeting on the 26th.
And then, and
Yeah.
Utica got moved to December 10th.
The December 10th.
Yeah.
And then, so then in December, so that all hazards I'll take off. Not on here right now though is on 12/4, the park planning committee for landscaping here from 10 to 12. And then I added this on December 12th. It's the all hazards planning code open house from 3 to 5.
So will you update that? And could you send that out to us? Okay. With those two new dates?
And then we have interviews on the 3rd.
Out of the regular meeting. So what time are we starting that then?
That was
2:30?
2 o'clock?
Yeah. 2 o'clock or 2:30? Maybe send an invite. I have it down as 2:30.
What day is that?
The 3rd.
It kind of depends on whether there will be 2 or 3, I
Right.
think,
Right.
right?
I've had it
Depending on
set
how many we
2:30. I have it down at.
So why don't you send us a invite
2:30?
once I have it?
Right, but it could
Solidify.
change according to
right for the change.
direction, so.
We'll wait till
Start
Steve.
at 2:30. And whatever happens, then we'll change it to beach.
Okay. Any other comments on calendar? Okay, future agenda items. Steve?
I don't think I have any.
Okay. Anybody have any requests for future agenda items?
I have, or go ahead.
No, I can be last.
All right. My only thought, and it has to also do with what Carolyn was saying about a Christmas tree. There used to be one down here in the corner that was lit up.
Troy?
Yeah. So, I don't know if we could, I don't know if it's in the budget to buy one.
Well, what corner, was it here?
It was right by, it was right by the porch.
It's where the
It's where the orc card is. And stuff it
No,
into the
no,
orc
I'm
card.
going in the
or-
way back. There used to
Oh,
be
there-
one at the creek,
There was one.
right where you turned around.
There was
Oh,
one
that's
there,
right.
or,
So
but
we
one.
did buy one for the firehouse for
Okay.
our Christmas party one time.
Okay,
We are not having a party for December. We're gonna do something small.
Okay.
So we can either use that or buy one, because we spent less than $100 off of Amazon, so.
oh,
I mean,
Gretel puts one in the
Okay.
orc card. She does one herself,
Right.
right there at the porch. So where are you
so,
thinking?
but I don't know, I have no idea. I was just thinking of
And are
a
you
Christmas
thinking
tree
live,
up somewhere.
not live, but like a real tree or?
Yeah, I say fake, 'cause it's
I
so
thought-
nice and easy. You plug them
Right.
up, they're lit, you plug it in, away you go. But it's,
But is it
It
allowed
does-
with Caltrans?
Not that pole that was at, Dallas
Wanna
Edo
show-
and 49.
and it doesn't have to be this year, I'm just saying something to think about. I mean, the one at the old city hall used to be lit up all the way to the top. We got the new swags coming, or they're here, just something to add to it. So that's all, just one more thing to add to the list of stuff to do. And it doesn't have to be this year.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying. Just,
Do we have a plan for decoration for all of the holiday decor and stuff?
I think what we purchased either earlier this year or last year, that's all in storage and,
Hopefully I was for the days and working and figuring out how they're going to put them up. So they're out. We've been working at it. And I know Caitlin had sent something for out there.
Yes.
Amy knows more about that.
Those are just for putting up our decorations.
Right. We just.
Or swags?
Just preview the landscaping plan for the park as included in the leaders street.
Oh, nice.
awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Love that.
Right. And thank you for putting up the veterans, for the flags for Veterans Day, I appreciated that. Same map.
Where are we at with the, gifting
Oh,
cards.
yeah. So that campaign, we have about $4,000 left as of today out of the 25,000 that we gave. And so it's gone a little bit slower this time, but I think that's because we've limited it to one card per, email or credit card. So it's kind of nice because if you looked at what was sold in the first 3 days, if we hadn't done that, it would have been gone. And now it's kind of stretched it out and we have about 4,000 left, for the match.
Okay.
So people can go on and have that opportunity. We have 6 new businesses sign up.
Oh, great.
This week in the program. And over the past year, I believe, we have put almost 100,000 into
And local businesses.
local business
That's-
through this program.
That's awesome.
So,
We all received an email, I believe, about the parade.
Oh, yes.
Anybody entertaining an idea of a
I spoke
parade
with,
entry?
I spoke with Marilyn Smith and she asked me about it and I said, I think it would be easier if someone were to say, I've got a truck, could you all be on it?
Right.
Instead of us 5 trying to
Individually.
coordinate being in the parade somehow together, or I think it would be nice to be together. Huh?
No, we can do events. as long as
No,
we don't
you
pick
just
up
can't talk
Maybe in a
business.
parade
Yeah.
together. Where,
You can't.
I'm trying to think about you all on the back of a truck.
yeah.
Whether that would constitute a meeting. It might.
I will not be here that day, so.
But I don't know, I
Yeah.
have a prior obligation in the morning, I'm hopefully gonna get back here to make that meeting. So.
Fire is in the parade, so if any of you wanna.
We
Come
can
on.
hop on. Okay,
Okay.
can we stand on the back again? You the council order. Sign my last one.
Okay, any other?
So I'll do-
That'd be fun.
Having sat here now for a year, I've thought about this often. I think in order to be transparent, I would like us to calendar evaluations of our contracted services. And I don't mean to do a full-fledged evaluation, but maybe have our city manager say, report on services being received by Dewberry or services by our attorney, and just, and if we had any concerns, we could share. I don't want to raise any red flags. I don't have any red flags, but I think we are spending taxpayers' dollars, and I think as a council, we should talk about the services being received and if we're happy. And for me, my happiness is going to be based on what our city manager says. And so I don't want it to be a threat. I think Dewberry is doing a wonderful job for us, and I appreciate Steve's interjection. I don't have any issue with our law firm, but I think at least we should talk about it in public.
Probably.
Yeah, that's all.
And
And Amy's a consultant. Yeah, I don't view Amy as a consultant. Yes, Amy's a consultant.
Yeah, Sam.
That's it.
Sam? Absolutely.
So that's what I believe.
That should be addressed like.
I don't think, I think it's when your contracts are up, and I understand that Doug's is perpetual. And I don't, it's not about anything except we just talk about that we concur with our city manager that we continue what we're doing or whatever. It's not, it shouldn't be threatening, it should just be us being good stewards of the dollars we're being spent on consultants. That's all I'm suggesting.
So I feel like we do that when the contracts get renewed.
But
Only if and when the contracts get renewed
Yeah.
publicly,
Right.
if they don't just perpetuate or what have you. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
some of them are automatic renewals,
Yeah.
so there's no
Right.
trigger to review the services.
Right.
And I think it's nice to give them some feedback too, like perhaps we aren't hearing, like the communications, are they working, or something that we would like to see quarterly from them or something like that, or we would love to have a presentation more than what we're getting. I think it's nice to have that kind of feedback for them. If we're doing an RFP only every 2 years, or I don't even know how long our contracts are, if it's a year or 2 years, but I think that
that touch point, just checking in with them, letting them know. I see your point.
I see your
from a
point, too.
transparent standpoint, it makes sense.
At budget time.
I was just gonna say, what about what about mid-year report and budget time? You could give a report that Augustine did this, and this, and this is, I don't know, that.
Well, you kind of do that, right, already in the mid-year?
More so it's the financial,
Right.
But we could talk,
yeah, but we could have.
A blurb underneath each, yeah.
They're using the services or.
Right.
We could talk about that.
Or start.
So it sounds like it's something that needs to be a little finessed, but we're
Yeah.
on board with it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I just think, some calendar, something, if it's a perpetual one or if it's renewal time. And then I have a confession to make because I'm a good Italian Catholic boy. I'm bugged by our crosswalks. You guys have heard me talk about crosswalks. And when I heard about that $60,000, I called Melissa. Melissa said that money's already been earmarked. But I did talk with Steve. She says, Mike, I can talk with Caltrans and maybe we can install reflectors in the crosswalks. She said, maybe I can find a funding for them and we can do it. I would just like us to do something. Downtown. Well, especially the one by Turner's and Cruisco's. That's the one that scares the
And
procedures.
at night, it's really,
Yeah.
we've talked about
It's
that.
terrible.
Yeah, I mean, so,
Talk about lighting from they should get better lighting from PG&E, because PG&E has those lights. We've talked about all sorts of.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't overstepping my boundaries. I think, public safety is something that we talked about in the campaign. We were asked questions, and I just think we should keep that in the forefront. That is one of my projects. Because
The
it,
squeaky wheel gets the oil.
well, it scares the viewers out of me because what happens, especially at night, they step out in the middle of the crosswalk,
Kid, yeah,
and stuff. So anyway,
sure.
those are the two things. I'll say 3 Hail Marys and 4 Our Fathers.
Okay,
I'm sorry, can I?
Yeah,
Before we get off the review of contractual services, I haven't been through a budget development process in the city, so I don't know, is that the time that you would want that, or would you want it separate from budget
like a
development?
mid-year budget.
I don't know. I don't know if it's, well, if we did it during mid-year budget and their contract was enough, well, there's always that 30-day clause to get out of it. But I don't, whatever timeline that the council feels comfortable with is fine with me, as long as we can openly discuss the service.
Nominate Mike to come and see staff and massage it and see what works best.
Can appoint
I was
him.
gonna say, because you could also look at the dates of when the contracts are up, so it makes some.
Right.
around that,
Yeah,
so they're all year round, yeah.
Mid-year would be a good time, because that would give you enough time to have that out of the contract. It's not like most of them will renew or you have to give notice, for July, right?
And again, it's not about threatening, but it's just about maybe clarification or perception. And, this is what we would, okay, that's enough.
Okay, thank you.
No, we're talking like 5 minutes.
You're over 100 minutes ago, but.
All right, item 14, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Bye.
For a long agenda, we pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, I'm saying.